Hello. Welcome to Human Tech, a podcast about the intersection between humans and technology. My name is Guthrie. I'm here with Susan. Hey, Susan.
Hey Guthrie,
How you doing?
I'm okay. I'm still, as you know, and maybe can tell from if anyone's watching, they can see the background, or even the sound is not as good as usual. I am still on the road, so I am not calling in from my usual office location with my usual microphone and all that stuff.
Yeah. So we'll try to keep things short.
We'll keep things so entertaining that any of the video or audio deficiencies melt into the background. How's that?
Okay. Cool.
He's like, yeah, whatever.
Sure.
So, um, you and I don't, we certainly don't rehearse these podcast episodes, and we do very, very minimal, if any, editing. So this is just like, you just, I can see you frowning already. Where are you headed with this? I know. I just said, so this is our thoughts on things. I had suggested for this week that we talk about meeting tools,
Mhm.
like Zoom or Teams or whatever, and make our wish list. If someone would improve these tools or put features and functionality that we think should be in there, what's our wish list for these tools?
I should say this is very common. I've been interviewing a lot of people we have contractor positions that are open.
Yeah.
So if you do UX work, you can submit a resume. But very common, especially people who are like just in school, like getting a master's in HCI. The redesigning the
Reason.
Zoom interface and the Uber app and Shopify. Everyone is
Those are the
redesigning,
three.
yeah.
You mean
Or
as
people who are doing like the boot camps, like
their
their
projects when
UX
you're
boot
supposed to
camps,
pick
and
a
so sometimes they
special
do like pick
project?
a something. Yeah, they're always redesigning the Zoom. Everyone is redesigning Zoom.
So then that means you should have lots of ideas because you've been looking at all their portfolios, right? So now you should have good ideas about how to redesign.
No, not necessarily. Don't forget, we're mostly hiring UX researchers, so all their UX design projects, wasn't paying attention to.
All right. Well, so you want me to go first about things I wish these
No,
products would do, or do you
no.
want to go first?
I want to do a quick preamble.
Go ahead.
There are a reason that these tools are the way they are, and the reason is because they are built from dev first. The the
Isn't that true of just about everything you can imagine?
not no there are, I mean, yes, that is, but like especially these tools. If you have other suites of software, or let's just say you have like a web portal, right? At a certain capacity, you have some flexibility over some of the features or what information or this or that. And with these tools, they are so locked in because of the dev side of things
Well,
that there's very little flexibility.
and as far as I'm concerned, that's uh, I don't care. It should be
That's
fixed.
good. That's good. I'm just saying that many of the problems is because of that. So
Yes,
let me
yes,
just talk
and
about Teams, the history of
yes.
Teams, which
Go
you may not
ahead.
know. So the and it may have changed. I'm not saying I know everything about the code behind Microsoft, but basically my understanding of Teams is that I don't know, everyone forgets this, but like a decade ago, for like $10 billion, Microsoft bought Skype. Skype was this company that had a popular platform where people could chat and call,
Like
and
Zoom, like Teams.
it was the original Zoom. And
Well, I'm not going to go that far, but okay.
I think it was. What was the original
Okay.
Zoom?
I don't know. Okay, so
Skype has been around since the
a
AOL
long
Instant
time.
Messenger days. It
Yes.
was that was
Yes.
the, because there was MSN Okay, well, now we have to go back.
Oh, now we're going back. Okay.
Not that far, not that far. But there was a certain protocol, which I don't need to go into the technical details, but there was a certain protocol that was open source or in some capacity, sort of like email, right? Where there was a pigeon messenger. There was like um, there was an open protocol that anyone could make a messenger application,
Yeah.
and there were some proprietary stuff, but basically there were a couple years where online messaging took off, and it was the first time anyone was messaging on the internet that was in like real time, right? There
Yeah.
were
Not a
forums or chat
bulletin
room, like you
board.
could put a
Yeah.
bulletin board, right? Someone would post and
Right.
someone would respond. But in terms of like were able to message back and forth, it was
Yes.
the first way anyone could communicate besides uh, a traditional phone call,
Yeah.
uh, email,
Yeah.
I guess a letter in the post office,
Yes.
and SMS messenger.
Yes.
So
Right.
suddenly there was this new way of communication, and there were a
Right.
couple rival services.
Yes.
So there was MSN,
Yeah.
there was AOL, Instant
Yeah.
Messenger, AIM. And it just depended what region of the globe and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Coming out of that, there was new protocols that were developed to overcome the limitations of the old. I don't want to say old technology, but this open source standard. And Skype was one of the big ones. And it allowed all sorts of interesting things. For example, you could have a phone call with someone. It's not just that you could message back and forth.
Right.
You could actually have a phone call. One of the original uses of Skype was to you'd give them money, and then you could call. Back in the day, calling another phone costs money. Okay, we're all used to you just call it. It doesn't cost money. It used to be charged by the minute, or you'd have a certain
Right.
allocation
I
of minutes.
forgot about that.
And
Yeah.
international rates
Yeah.
were especially expensive. I mean, we're talking like if you were in the States and you wanted to call Estonia or something, $1, $2, $3, $4 a minute
Yeah.
just to if you just call a phone number.
Right.
So the kids these days don't know what I'm talking about, but this was the thing that happened. So Skype had the ability where for a low fee you could sort of call
Right.
internationally, and there were niche. Anyways, so they developed this sort of special protocol to do some of this stuff, and people liked Skype, and it was one of the big players in the space. This was right when smartphones were taking off.
Yeah.
So Skype came about on desktop. They kind of were trying to transition to mobile, and right at about that point, they got bought by Microsoft.
Okay.
And generally, the general consensus is that Microsoft just sort of bungled the entire thing, and Skype's preeminence in the space declined. They totally missed the boat on having a competent mobile application.
Okay.
And you had the rise of FaceTime, which was mobile only. You had
Yeah.
WhatsApp, which was mobile only. You
Yeah.
had, was it Vive? There was a bunch of international ones. Basically, there were all these video chat things that were on phones. And, Skype missed out of that, and it sort of popularly waned. Later, Microsoft was like, we should really probably have a messenger call thing in our Office 365 suite. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Guthrie, you with us?
I am, but I just realized that I'm wrong, and I need to correct myself before I get in trouble.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I swear. Okay,
Yeah.
I am right. I'm right, but I'm wrong. I'm right, but
Okay.
I'm wrong. So Skype was created by four Estonian people in 2003,
Okay.
and I knew that. I didn't know it was Estonia, but I knew it was that region of the world. But then in 2005, Skype was acquired by eBay. That's
Oh,
the one I forgot. Right?
I
Yeah,
missed
for
that one.
$2.5 billion, and so they were mostly owned by eBay for 4 years,
And then they sold it to Microsoft?
and then in
Yeah.
2009 they got bought by Silver Lake and Horowitz,
Okay.
the investment, you know,
Okay.
Anderson Horowitz
And then
thing.
what happened?
Um, and then in 2011, 2 years
Okay.
after that, Microsoft did buy Skype
Okay.
for $8.5 billion. So I was right, and they did it just because their Windows Live Messenger was losing. It wasn't doing very
So
well.
they bought the competition.
They bought the competition. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so this is I find this history fascinating. No one else cares. I think
No,
this stuff
no
is
one else cares.
the
So let's
history
finish.
of tech
Let's
is
finish
so
the history.
fascinating. So
Okay.
one of the cool things about the original Skype platform is that it was a combination peer-to-peer and client server system. It was a complex,
Yes.
like from a dev side, it was complex. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
When it got bought by Microsoft,
Yeah.
they're like, we need to not do this anymore.
Yeah.
We're going to take this core, messenger, and we're
Yeah.
going to glom it into our Windows server
Thing.
thing. Okay.
Okay.
So, for example, in 2017, it changed from peer to peer to just a centralized Azure based, service in the cloud
Okay.
thing. All right.
Yeah.
But that was, that basically was that's the core of my understanding of what Microsoft Teams
Okay.
is that they bought Skype and they just glommed this
Glommed it in.
technology into what
Okay.
became Microsoft Teams,
Okay.
so that they were
You're
like, you can make video calls with
right.
Microsoft, and like
Okay.
that was like the thing that they did. Um,
So
so yeah,
you were telling this whole story
yeah,
because you were trying, somehow you think this is justification for user experience issues that we all need to live with. Right?
uh,
Although every one of these tools, whether it's Teams or Zoom or whatever, they all have their own set of user experience, either problems or missed, functionality you wish were there that isn't there.
yeah, but you have seen enough companies do this where they buy something and it's sort of operating in sort of some sort of silo, and
Yes.
they're trying to integrate it in,
Yes.
and it causes all sorts of trouble because it wasn't designed to be integrated in the system.
Yes.
And in
Yes.
a lot of ways,
And do
right,
it
like
that
if you would have just started from scratch and
right.
redesigned the whole
So
thing.
ask me if I care. I mean, no.
Oh, that's good.
Let's talk about, let's say that there was, okay, look, I know that sometimes there's a disconnect, supposedly, between what makes financial and business sense or
Can I can I just
feasibility.
can I say one more thing?
What?
A piece of history very quickly. Do you remember Skype for Business?
Yes, I do.
That's the missing piece. It was literally called Skype for
Skype for business.
Business,
It was
and
okay. So speaking of really bad,
that was
it was really bad,
atrocious.
but not it. The user interface was bad, but it just didn't work.
It never
It just
worked.
functionality. It didn't work.
It
Like
was
there was a
completely terrible.
constantly, I'm trying to call you. Are you there? I don't see a phone call coming in. It did not work. That was just a functional, besides user experience,
Yeah.
functionally. That was
And Skype for Business, by the way,
yeah.
was actually what Microsoft previously called Link, which was basically Office Communicator 7 R2. So like Communicator became Link, which then got rebranded Skype for Business after they bought the Skype IP. And finally, after really, I mean, in some ways, they totally designed it from the ground up, and that's
All
sort of
right. So
Teams,
you're telling me
but it's
that
a tortured history.
you're telling me I should appreciate Teams, not
No,
malign Teams.
no, all that happened is they're doing the same, they just keep doing the same thing.
Yes.
So like
And
Teams,
expecting a different outcome, and that's the definition of insanity.
a little, yeah. So like Teams, Skype for Business was especially bad, but it is 7 years old, right? So just think of like, Teams 7 years ago and how
Yeah.
much functionality they've been able to do. Still. So yeah, that's the tortured history is Skype for Business just
Okay, fine.
terrible. Okay,
Can
so
we?
I'm sorry. I get really excited about this stuff.
Apparently, I think we're going to do a series of episodes, which we'll call Guthrie gets to talk about the history of any technology he wants and get really excited.
Exchange 2000.
And the rest of us might take a nap.
Can I
You're not done. Yes. What do you want to do? I'll
you also
indulge
have
you.
to understand
Yes.
Exchange.
No, I do not. I do not have to understand Exchange.
You just have to understand that. Do you know what Exchange is?
I've heard of Exchange, and that's like as far as I really care to go.
So there's like regular email,
Yes.
right? There's like the
Yes.
that's not what Microsoft uses. This
Okay.
thing called Microsoft Exchange.
Exchange, yes.
And it is way more complicated than this. It's 1,000 times more complicated and has to do with Azure and business deployment, whatever.
Okay.
But I'll just put it this way. At a high level, there is an underlying suite of technologies that Microsoft uses to communicate in the Office sort of business world.
But here's what I want to say.
And it's different than outside that world.
Fine. Okay? All I'm asking is, can we have a little tiny special team whose job it is to communicate with the powers that be at Microsoft or at Zoom or any of these other technologies, and just say to them, here are some of the things we'd really like to see change. That's all I'm asking for. And what I'm asking you for, Guthrie, is give me one thing that you would want on that list that you would like to see either added function or a different kind of experience. What is one thing, if someone said to you, you are master of the universe and you can change anything you want about Teams, give me one thing, just one. Just give me one.
Easy account switching.
What does that mean?
Right now, think of Slack. There's a drop down, or a Gmail is a perfect example, right? If you have multiple Gmail accounts, if you're logged into Gmail and you want to switch accounts, you just click on the up and it has your list of email accounts you're logged into, and you click.
Too difficult, but okay.
You click you click on it and it just switches.
And then you have to put in your password, and then you have to put in your authentication, and it goes on and on and on. But okay.
You have to log. I'm sorry, you have to log in securely to your email
logging in. Yeah. Okay.
You can't use another
Teams.
Teams does not support multiple accounts.
And we have that problem in our business because we have our own Teams, and then our clients have Teams accounts, and they want us to use their Teams accounts when we're communicating.
How about this?
What?
When you install Windows 11.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It comes with Teams.
Yeah.
And you have to ignore that Teams installation and install Microsoft Teams, for school or business, which is a different Teams.
Oh God. Okay.
So that you can, because you have your Teams that's like Windows 11 associated with your Microsoft account, and they have to have an entirely different instance.
This is very good. Guthrie, you did a great job. You gave me one thing that goes on your list.
But here's the thing. The reason that exists, I'm telling, but this is why it's important. The reason that exists is because Microsoft Teams is not a real application. It is, in fact, you know how like terrible having a browser open is and trying to switch accounts in Office?
Yeah.
Like if you have an Office 365 account, what we use is we use different browsers for different accounts.
Yeah.
We use
We
Edge
do.
for one, and I
We
use
use
Firefox for
Chrome for
another.
another. We have
It's
to, or we can't do it.
terrible. Terrible. It's because Teams is literally just a web-based desktop app. It's just a website that is smushed into a application, but it's not actually a real application. And so because it's hampered by all the limitations of what they do in a browser,
Yeah.
that's what you get on the desktop app is all the browser limitations. And so they can't even put functionality into it because it's just a browser based application. It's actually just basically it's a little more complicated, but it's basically just a Chrome app. It's just a
Okay.
Chrome tab.
All right. All right. And we don't have to pick just on Microsoft. We can also talk about Zoom. But that was good. You gave me one. Can you give me another one? Another feature functionality.
You're not giving me any.
Oh, okay. I'll give you one. I would like when I'm in a call, okay, I would like to have an easy way to adjust my lighting or my camera. I would like it to be, I know I have a camera, okay? And whether it's a camera that's built into my laptop or an external camera.
Change the aspect ratio. Change the zoom.
Could I just zoom in or zoom out?
They have all these new
just
cameras with
anything.
the wide. There's a 180-degree field, so you could fit in like a whole office room, and that's why they make them, right? Because you need to see everyone in the client center. It's
Right.
designed for business. So if there's one person on a camera, you're like in like 2% of the shot, and then it's like all of your mess.
All of your mess. It's like this thing on the shelf and the garbage can So I don't know how hard or easy is that to do, but I would love to just be able to adjust that. Just, a few little dials and things on the screen, and I can adjust this idea of, oh, but you can change the background. I don't need to change it to, okay. And here's another one. I got another one because you can't adjust that. And you end up doing the background, and then you do the thing where part of your head disappears. I don't use the backgrounds because it's too weird. People's head disappears. What backgrounds is that?
Look, on one hand, I would say it's a limitation because Teams is just grabbing the camera feed from the camera. But it is true that they have backgrounds. So clearly Teams has the ability to take the video and modify it in some capacity, right?
Right. But why are they so there's just these weird ways.
The only thing you can do is like make you like look like you're at a beach. That's the extent of that's like a really useful feat. Someone spent 1,000 years with the AI team to figure out where your head is, so that it like just blurs just like the background and not a person. They spent hundreds of hours architecting that, and yet like a simple just change the zoom that got missed.
We can't do.
That's a much better one because that's in theory that's not a limitation of anything. That's just. Because I will tell you, I use there's a program that no one knows about, but it's called NVIDIA whatever. If you have an NVIDIA graphics
that's why
card,
no one knows about it.
I can't even remember. Yeah, I don't even.
Okay, fine. There's an NVIDIA program.
And basically what it does is it takes your camera feed and it runs it through your NVIDIA graphics card and then spits it back out. And then you can modify things through that. It's a really useful way to, for example, they do automatic noise canceling. You can run your bike through it, and
Mm.
it uses the AI, the tensor
Is
cores
there,
on the graphics card.
why aren't we using that?
The To be honest, since they came out with it, I mean, a lot of the a lot almost every video conferencing app, it doesn't send it from your machine to the other person's machine. Everything gets sent. Even like we're using Restream, everything gets sent to a central server, and that server pushes it together and then sends it
Okay.
back out.
All
So
right.
the server on the back end is doing those calculations, and that's why like on Zoom, like
Yeah.
the automatic noise reduction has
Yeah.
gotten really good. So, and Teams is pretty good too. So, and then Restream is really good as well. So like I don't know if you've noticed, but since the pandemic started, the hearing weird background noise, like, oh hey, there's like a train, or there's like your like
Yeah, that's much
fridge is
better.
loud.
Yeah.
It's gotten a lot better, and that's just because they're doing it on the server side. So there's really not a need to do it locally. The point
Yeah.
is that you can, when you're doing that, you can change your camera. And I changed my aspect ratio to a 4:3 just so I could smush myself and be a little more centered. And like, it's not like Teams crashed. Like, if you send Teams a 4:3 feed, like, it knows what to do. It can deal with that just fine. So I don't understand, again. So I don't see any limitations in processing the video feed or in displaying different aspect ratios, 720, 1080. Like, it can seem to take it and be just fine. So
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. I gave one. Now it's your turn again. Do you have another one?
let's talk about Zoom.
Okay.
I don't want to be mean to Teams.
Okay.
By the way, Teams is going to be really, really, really cool. They got some really cool stuff coming. Because the thing is that so Teams was a glom on and a glom on and a glom on.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit, and people were like, well, Teams is terrible and Skype is dead. And
So
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What's out there? And there was this little company that had a competitor called Zoom, and they made it pretty easy for people to make calls with each other. And you just get a code and you press a button and you were in, and you didn't have to log into anything. It was really, really easy. So, okay, Zoom takes off, right? And when that happens, Microsoft goes, oh,
maybe we
oops.
better put some attention
And
on
now there are
plans.
things in the works and plans, and yeah, they're gonna be doing some really, really cool
But
stuff.
did they ask
with
us
Teams.
for our list?
No, they didn't. But
Okay.
so it's gonna now.
All right,
now
fine.
there's an impetus behind it.
Now we'll stop bashing Teams. All right.
Yeah,
So
so
now
let's
let's bash Zoom. What do you
let's bash
want them
Zoom.
to do different? What do you want them to do differently?
I think they do. I don't think the way that when they do have large meetings, I don't think they do a very good job showing all the people. There's a couple different ways that they do it, but it's just not set up very well. So, for example, and I think I maybe have an idea, but like, if you have a bunch of people on a call, like, sometimes it's all in a row, and you can change it. So it's like it's a row and it's an aside, or you can like, but none of them are like particularly exactly what I want.
And it's not necessarily easy to change it either, to figure out how to change it. It's like, what am I supposed to do? The number of times that I've been on a Zoom call and
something needs to get pinned. You can like
somebody
pin
needs help
a thing, but that's
with how
confusing.
and the view is constant. Any Zoom call I've ever been on, there's almost always someone who says, how come I can't see anybody? Or how come I'm only seeing the speaker? Or how come I can't see the speaker when the speaker's talking? Or how come, and then you have 5 people chiming in. Well, look down at the bottom. There's a little thing, and no one can find the settings. It's constant.
And again, they were in the same thing. They were a little company. They were plotting along. They were doing their thing. They were having some success. And then the pandemic happens. And suddenly, like, now, in fairness to Zoom, like, the biggest thing they needed to do was make like a bajillion servers to handle the insane amount of traffic they did. And the fact that their entire service was just off, not just like offline for the whole pandemic, they get tons of credit for that. Microsoft gets less credit because they have like,
a lot
servers all over the world. Yeah, they can handle traffic. Okay. But like, yeah, this tiny little company that has like no money and no servers, and suddenly they need like so much bandwidth. So they get a lot. So they were just. I'm sure that was a frantic time at that company.
Yeah, I can even imagine.
And so yeah, and then so that was so on one hand, right? This is the push and pull, and this is again where Microsoft, I don't want to say gets in trouble, but kind of gets in trouble with the UI, because we're talking about the user experience.
Yes.
And okay, that's all fine and good. What happened is with Zoom is that they were like, oh, here's some cool features. We're going to make it really good. And then there was a security aspect.
Yes.
And all the big businesses that were actually paying them the money said, whoa, 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 whoa. No. We need to authenticate logins, and we need this and we need that. And it has to be secure, and it's got to talk to this server here. And then this thing has to load, and you can't load external elements in here. And like before you know it, your Microsoft Teams, like that's the way, because Teams is all operated so that
you can do that.
Admins can do the amount of amazing features that the Microsoft Office suite has is amazing. We work with a client and they give us an Office 365 account. And when you're writing an email, you can't copy and paste.
It's really annoying.
If you try to copy and paste, the little thing says, it says like this action isn't supported.
You can't copy anything from it. You can't paste anything into it. Nothing.
It's incredible. So from an admin level, from the server somewhere in the cloud, an admin person presses a little box and the users can't copy and paste inside their own emails. Like
which
that is
Guthrie thinks is a good thing, and I think it's
why would I think it's a good thing? No,
you're saying it's amazing. Isn't that amazing? They can do that, and it's like
it's like a weapon system that can hit a grape like a mile away. Like it's terrible, but like it's amazing that such technology exists. So like at some point, someone has put in incredible functionality to let the user have all these amazing tools and things. But that's who the user is, right? It's not. So this comes down fundamentally, and I'm talking too much. I'll be quiet. This is just
it's all right.
The fundamental problem is who is the user?
Yes.
Because you've said many times, you can't design for everyone. You have to prioritize who you design for.
Yes. And this is just one app and one example, and this is true, in my experience, anything you're designing, and everyone, it's so interesting too, because lately, Guthrie, you and I are doing a lot of research, and we're doing a lot of mentoring, and we're doing some design, but maybe not as much as I used to do. But any design session that I've been in, I always start with, tell me what this product is supposed to do, and tell me who the users are. And it's always interesting to me that people think they know who the users are, and then they do just such a terrible job of deciding this or agreeing on it, or they go, well, here's our personas of our customers, and it's like, well, okay, but is that the user of this particular product? And just a misunderstanding of what you just said, and who is the user really? Is it the person that's making the purchase, the person that's making the decision to purchase, the person that has to use it on a day-to-day level? Is it the admin who's setting things up? And if you optimize for one, chances are very high that it's not optimized for another. And if you're not paying attention to that, then we all live with the result of people not paying attention to that. People designing for who they think the user is, or what they think the user wants to do, or designing, it's got to work for all users. Yeah, I understand it's got to work for all users, but you cannot optimize for everyone. So who are you optimizing for?
It's the business admins. That's who the user is for Teams and
that's
Skype.
Fine. That's fine if that's who you're optimizing for. But then you have to understand that other people who are not the business admins are going to struggle.
And they do.
Is that okay with you? And if that's okay with you, then that was the decision you made.
And
But
this is
then don't
why,
pretend that you don't understand,
and this is
that
why
you don't get it.
FaceTime runs the earth.
Why FaceTime runs the earth?
Yeah, FaceTime is. I mean, we don't have Apple devices, so we don't use FaceTime.
I forgot about FaceTime. Yeah, because I don't
FaceTime runs. It's
because
just
it was designed for the not the admin user.
yeah, and it's Apple doing it. And in classic Apple, if there's any, I think FaceTime might be the most successful software that Apple has in terms of it's magic and it just works, and you want to talk to
Okay.
someone and you just do it,
So,
and it's a
but
video
then
call.
how come all the businesses in the world haven't just
You
handed
have
out?
to be on an Apple device to do it.
I
They haven't
understand that,
opened
but why
it
don't
up.
they just hand out a gazillion iPhones and say all of our meetings are going to be done on
Oh,
FaceTime on your
I'm
iPhone?
just talking from the consumer side. That's why it's so good for the consumer. I don't
Yeah,
think it has that. It does not. The business people, admins, were not the target market. It doesn't have the magical, like you're the admin in the cloud. You can press a button and suddenly like only these people can talk to these other people, and
yeah,
like it'll magically like
yeah,
figure out when bad things are happening and
yeah,
alert people. And like it doesn't have that sort of high
yeah,
level from the cloud control.
right.
It was designed for, you to call grandma. That was its
And
purpose.
for grandma to answer. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
okay.
And it does that really well. So that's why it doesn't. I'm sure there are some organizations that use FaceTime. Like if you're a design shop and everyone's on Mac because it's like made for designers. But yeah, no, but they're not going to give everyone iPhones just to. If you can't lock it down, I
Yeah,
don't
I
think there's.
understand. All right, now I have a different but somewhat related question.
Yeah.
It has been such a long time now since and I think a lot of people had the experience. I mean, and some people are doing it now, but for a lot of people, it's still not the norm to be in an office and have in-person meetings. Okay, like meetings, like you were in your office and you had meetings. So, what are we going to do moving forward with the follow? I have two issues that I don't understand how we're going to deal with. Number one, you're going to, and this is happening today, I'm sure, although interestingly, it hasn't happened in any of the meetings I've been on. You're going to have meetings where some people are in the room and some people are not in the room because people are going back to offices. So now they do meet in the conference room, or people just not going to meet in the conference room because they know that Susan and Guthrie are joining remotely. So everybody just they go into the office, but they just stay in their cubicle and go to the meeting. And I've seen this happen. We've had some client meetings where we were, doing our usual remote thing. The two people from the client were in the building, but they were just on separate floors, still calling in remotely. Is that what people are going to do?
I don't know.
Because it kind of doesn't work. I'm just curious about what did we do before, or what are people doing now? We're facing this coming up with some workshops we're teaching, and I just don't. I don't think we got anybody has a good setup for that.
No, there is a good setup for that, but it's like super crazy expensive bajillion-dollar proprietary enterprise
Special things
software.
in the conference
Yeah.
room that.
Well, hey, if you want to spend, $600,000 a year on a software license, there's probably an enterprise solution for you out there.
So, what do you think? Are people going to do that, or do you think they're just going to limp along?
No. Clearly this is a problem that needs solving, and I bet you there's a bunch of startups with
Working on it?
VC, funding that are working on it. Um,
They better hurry up. So that's one thing. Okay, can I say
I think there's another thing going on.
what?
Look, people need to figure out why they're having meetings. And like, what is the purpose and who needs to be there?
Oh, come
And
on. That question has been going on for decades and
yeah, I
decades
know,
and
but before there wasn't really an option because there was a culture where
you had a
if you
meeting.
might be needed, you had
You
to
had to
be there
show up.
sitting, and you'd sit on the meeting. So you knew what was going on. And now that everyone got used to we all know what sitting in on a meeting is if you're
Means
remote.
you're on, but you turn off your camera and your mic and
Right,
you
and you're
do
doing
something
something else.
else,
Yeah. Um,
which we
and
never do.
if there is if you start having mixed, I don't know what you would call it,
Mixed
mixed modal,
meetings,
mixed methods,
mixed mode meetings,
yeah,
MMMs, three
um,
M's.
then people are still going to keep doing that. And so there's kind of a question of, well, why I don't really need to say anything in this meeting. Like maybe there's like the one thing at the end that they might need me for 5 minutes. So I'm just not going to go. And then I'll just like be on, right? Like I'll be on the call, but I won't really, and if you need me,
Plus,
you can
there's
ask.
another thing that's going on too. Okay, so now I have two other things. One is that, so, I'm taking these music classes. I think I've mentioned this before, haven't I? And they're online, but there is a live 1 hour video call every week, which usually I can't make, so I just watch the recording. Some weeks I've had the option where I was able to make the meeting, but do you know what I say to myself? I'm just going to watch the recording because when I watch the recording, I can put it on 2 times. And
Mhm.
instead of taking an hour, it just takes 30 minutes. And I can just listen to them talk really fast. And so I think that goes on. That's going to be going on too. People just say, oh, no, I'll just listen to the recording because they want to speed up the audio. So sometimes I come on to calls and it's like, where's the thing to speed up how fast everybody's talking? This is terrible.
It is
All
terrible.
right. Here's the other question though. The other thing I'm confused about was when we were in person and we were going to meetings, you used to have to walk from like one part of the building to another or from one building to another building. We now schedule everything back to back. How is anyone going to get to the meetings?
Well, it's easy enough. You just need to stop scheduling back to back, and it'll be
But
fine.
you can't get anyone to stop scheduling back to back.
Companies
How do
will
you do
figure it
that?
out. Companies will figure it out.
I can't even remember how we used to do it.
Hmm.
People didn't schedule back to back, I guess.
Start
I guess you just start, you leave
and
30-minute breaks. I don't know.
I think people had less meetings because like
Mhm.
it was harder. Like if I had to go, like I have to do my work, right? So like I need to be on the desk and
Oh,
meet
so
with
if I have
email.
to be going to meetings all the time, I'm going to
I'm
do
not gonna go
less.
to as many meetings.
Ah,
That might
ah.
as well.
Will we
But
be able to get back to that?
I don't know
Having
which way
less
it's gonna
meetings?
break. I could see back to the way it was eventually. Like it would take a long time. I could see that the mixed modal becomes more popular. But then there's gonna need to be tools that really work.
That make it better. Yeah. All right.
I know people say it's gonna be like the metaverse and stuff. I still don't
No,
think
I
people are
don't
gonna be
believe
doing
that.
meetings in VR. Like avoid it. I, I think there are ways to. I think there are solutions. This is one of the things in which it's actually it's not a looking in it's actually a problem. It needs a solution that I
Yeah.
probably do a better job at.
Yeah.
Visualizing meetings, allowing collaboration between people who are in person and who are remote, allowing easy ways to look at stuff and talk to people. And I think having a lot more cameras would be very beneficial. Um, this is weird, but who does a good job with this is the. So if you watch an NBA stream on like not on like TNT broadcast, but if you actually like subscribe to the NBA service,
Yeah.
there are like there are cameras all throughout the building, right? And that's how
Yeah.
they put
Yeah.
together like when you see like a national televised game, there's not one camera, there's like
Right.
8 cameras, right? And sometimes it's like there's like 2 people who are focusing only on people, and then there's like the wide shot,
Yeah,
and then
but
there's a camera.
that means you have a production manager who's saying,
No,
camera
but see, here's the
3,
thing.
camera
I
2,
understand,
camera 1.
but if you get the NBA package, you
Yeah.
can just select what camera feed to watch because they don't show any of the commercials. It's not the national feed, so it's literally you just get the in the arena. You can just sort of switch the camera feeds. Like if you want to watch from
So are you seeing multiple ones at a
yeah,
time?
you can do that, and then you're just like, all right, I want to watch like this one, and so you can switch the feeds. So like I could see a world in which like room or like 4 cameras, right, and like one's a wide angle and one it like uses AI to only like focus on who's talking, and like one of them is the presentation that's being shared, right? And so you have like different feeds, and then the people online easily sort of select the feeds that work best for
I think
them.
that's excellent, and I want to have that. And I think that would make if it were well designed, which is a big if.
Well, and
I
it's just hard because it actually takes a fair bit of processing muscle
Yeah.
to patch in 4
But it
streams
would
and put
be
it together.
but it would be so much more engaging if you could control it. Like you could say, I'm gonna zoom out and look at the whole room, and yeah, I like it,
Absolutely.
Kathy.
Yep. No, so I mean these are the
You think we'll have that eventually?
I don't know if it's going to
Maybe.
actually be, but
Maybe.
I do think that there are potential solutions that can be developed that will help make it just in the same way that Skype for Business is truly terrible and like
Yeah.
Teams is at least usable. I think maybe having mixed method with some remote and some in person. Right now, it's pretty terrible, and maybe with some more tech, it would be at least, functional in a better
All
way.
right. Guthrie, I think we should end it there.
Oh, can I just very briefly
Yes.
tell you some acquisitions that eBay made?
Go ahead.
Everyone forgets it was once one of the best companies in the world.
Yes.
And eBay.com like had stakes, really crazy stuff.
Okay. What?
So they had a staking Craigslist.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of small like for sale and company and stuff. So meetup.com,
Yeah.
upon there's some of these websites from like um, the
A
first
while
tech bubble
ago.
in like '99 are really the
Yeah.
names they came up with were like really funny. So so we'll skip that. So there's StubHub, Half.com, Rent.com, Shopping.com, Braintree, Bill Me Later, Skype, and PayPal. They bought PayPal. So
Okay. I have to say, I remember all of those.
saying you don't, I'm just saying it's
Yeah.
really fascinating
You're right.
history.
I know.
Like they bought PayPal. Who you know? PayPal was
Yeah.
Elon Musk at the time. Like they just a really
Yeah.
wild.
They have an interesting history. Well, Guthrie,
PayPal was deal.
we'll
That
have
was
to let you do some more of your history of technology conversations. All right, Guthrie, if people want to reach us and give us ideas about other things we should be talking about, where do they, or any other reason, where do they reach us?
info at the team. Got one more trivia question.
Wait a minute, can you say that again because your audio is cutting out?
Info at the team.com.
Okay, go ahead. What's your trivia question?
How many employees have?
How many employees? What
I'll have
does eBay have?
eBay and PayPal.
How many employees?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. 10,000?
for both.
Yeah.
eBay has 13,000. That's a pretty good guess. PayPal is
Yeah.
25,000.
Oh, more than I thought. Okay. That's a lot of people. All right. Guthrie, thank you so much. Interesting I thought it was an interesting conversation. I look forward to the MMN, multimodal meeting, or whatever you called it.
All right.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.